You guys asked for it. Here he is, TV host of one more casts with Shaw Grigsby. I can say his grandson has outfished me not once, but twice on the same day. One of the most popular, well-liked anglers in the country, Hall of Famer, 36 years as a professional angler, 64 top tens with 9 wins, and his last win was on the Harris chain. Sponsors include Motor Guide, Strike King, Lewis, Lowrance, Triton Boats, Mercury, Starbright, Trocar, Eagle, Claw Hooks, Sims, First TBS, Seagar, Battleborn Batteries, and more. Here he is, Shaw Grigsby. How are you, brother?
I am doing fantastic.
I love to see you. You know that.
It's always good to see you, sir.
It's really funny because usually we see each other and it's and the conversation, we do our interview, and then the conversation lasts 3 hours afterwards.
just talking all kinds of stuff from industry and having fun and fishing and whatever.
Yeah, it's always great. So first off, how have you been health-wise? I know you had some cancer scare stuff there. How are you doing?
Real well. They found it early, which was just a blessing. They decided that, it was kidney cancer, which is, if you're going to have cancer, that's one of the ones. I mean, people die of it, but it's usually because you don't find it. And so this one they found early, and they decided that they could cut a chunk of it out rather than taking the whole kidney.
Mm-hmm.
So they did that, and so then I had my 3 months checkup, and I'm clear. And I think I got another one coming up here pretty quick, and hopefully that'll be clear. And then it goes to 6 months, and then it goes to years. So yeah, I'm doing good and pretty excited about the whole thing that it happened and they found it. I'm setting you up a little holder.
Okay.
How about that?
It looks good.
Then it won't move. How about right there? That look good?
Yeah.
All right.
So everything's been clear so far. I know as soon as I heard it, I was sending you texts. Let's just say thank God for you getting through this easily and everything to be doing well. I'm really happy to see that.
Yeah, it truly is a blessing, and it was amazing. They found it just by accident, so that's another big Jesus story. So yeah, and so I'm doing good.
Next, I know people aren't going to like to hear this, but how is my boy doing? I saw him getting some. He was out hunting a couple weeks ago. How is Bryce doing?
He's doing great. He outfishes me sometimes too, but I tell you what. So last Christmas, we bought him a shotgun because my son and I love duck hunting.
Yeah.
So we bought him a shotgun, and he shot a few times, and he went hunting a few times, and he killed his first duck, and he killed a first crow. I actually think I killed maybe 2 ducks and a crow. Anyway, so this year I get invited. Dennis TJ, who used to fish with us on tour for many, many years, he sends me videos of this just massive amount of ducks at his property and in Louisiana. And on a Tuesday, I get this text with this huge flock. I mean, thousands and thousands of ducks. And he goes, "Sure wish you lived closer." So I text him back, says, "I do have a truck." And he goes, he says, "Well, I'm only got one buddy hunting opening morning and just me on the next day. So, if you want to bring somebody," and I said, "Like Bryce," he says, "Absolutely," because he loves Bryce too.
Yeah.
Bryce got to go fishing with him and all down there at Gros Savant, so we had a great time. But anyway, so we loaded up, and it was really cool because Dennis is all about kids and friends, and I mean his heart is just huge, and he's just a great guy. But so anyway, he puts himself on one end with the dog, and then it's a 4-man pit blind, and then he has his buddy, and then me, and then Bryce gets an end. So on that end, he's all open. Anything that comes from the north is all Bryce's. Well, Bryce commenced to just whomping on it. I don't mean I don't mean like, I mean, he whomped him. It was like he shot a limit pretty quickly, and we're like, oh my gosh, that's, and I mean, he wasn't missing much. He was just drilling them. So he got a limit by himself on opening morning. Well, the next morning was
Of
much
course.
slower because we had blasted him, and he still got a limit by himself with nobody helping, nobody shooting his duck, anything like that. He just blasted them, and so it was a really really fun weekend. So yeah, he's doing great. I know he wants to get back to doing some more, hunting and stuff. So yeah,
I I I, re- I remember the day meeting Bryce at that iCast on the water, and
that was
watching
so
him,
fun.
and with how many? I mean, there were so many pro anglers in that little canal, that ditch with their boats. All of them out there fishing, nobody catching anything. Bryce is on the back of your boat, bringing them in every other cast, and I'm like, what is this kid doing different than the rest of us? And
And
then
then, and then it, go ahead.
and then, you and I talked, of course, and I said, "Can I take him with me for a few minutes?" And
That's what I was gonna say.
and Polly's like, "Who is this? Who's this big fat guy taking our grandson?" Being protective because she doesn't know me. And I'm like, "We're just gonna go to the front. We're gonna hop in the truck. We're gonna go to the front." Then we get up front, and then he completely annihilates me in fishing. And I'm like, "What is How is this possible?"
Yeah,
What is he? 12 or 13 years old now?
he had so much fun.
I know. I miss
He's
him.
13.
A
Yeah,
wonderful
he
young
had
man.
so much fun with you,
And then
yeah,
then we hang out.
I gotta
We end up hanging out
I
all at
gotta brag
ICAST
on
for
him
a whole
just a
day.
second.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So we went to Brooker's Bait and Tackle, which is in Leesburg,
Right
and they
next to
have a
me.
big, open house every first Saturday of December, whatever it is. Anyway, so I'm there working, and they serve a really nice, like a barbecue deal and all for lunch. And so we all are eating. We're at a table, and there's like six of us, two on each side, and then two on the ends. Six of us at the table, and we're all eating. And Bryce is eating, and this guy comes by with his plate, and he's got his tournament jersey on, and Bryce looks at him. Well, Bryce just takes his plate and gets up and walks away. And I'm like, what the heck is Bryce doing? Well, he went, and that guy sat at another table, and I was like, and we looked back, and I said, what are you doing? He said, he just giving him his seat if he wanted it. And I'm like, wow. I mean,
That's
that was just like, wow. That, you don't see that often anymore.
no.
And that was a wow moment. So yeah, I was pretty proud of him.
That is absolutely awesome. So let's talk about Major League Fishing. What the schedule this year? Holy cow, dude! What a schedule. Uh, what are you thinking about the upcoming season?
I'm excited about it. I was devastated when this COVID crap hit and kept us from a couple tournaments. The one that we were going to in, I think it's April or May in North Carolina at Sharon Harris Jordan and Falls. Those are just giant, big old bass,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh man, come on, that got canceled on us. And the one in June broke my heart. So I had planned on bringing Bryce up to New York and to go fishing smallmouth, spawn in New York at Thousand Islands, biggest smallmouth that exists, and it was going to be epic, and didn't get to go. So this year we get to go back to New York. I believe we get to go back to the Carolinas. I think we have some, and I don't remember the schedule exactly, but I know we're in Texas at Rayburn, which is going to be a slugfest. We do go to Harris Chain. I think we might have another Texas tournament, and then with the New York, and anyway, it's really really good. So I'm excited about the whole tour, and it's amazing to see how many people have just loved the Bass Pro Tour and Major League Fishing in general. The changes that were made to the format and things that people just love because it makes it exciting to watch fishing, and
It,
that's cool.
it does. I had heard there was a rumor that there was a vote to possibly do the largest 10 fish. Is that a possible new rule for this next season?
So we have a largest five fish.
Uh huh.
Okay, so your first five tournaments, they're going to do, your biggest fish. And I think actually it may just be over your whole tournament series. So the whole series next year, you're going to take, your biggest fish from this tournament, your biggest fish from the second, from whatever, and your biggest five from your five biggest fish tournaments. Add them together. That's going to be a stringer, and it's called heavy hitters. And then you go to a tournament that's separate and above and beyond this big money for heavy hitters. So
Yeah.
it's pretty special.
Yeah. What was weird is heavy hitters last year in Toho. I mean, I didn't even see you. Do you know that?
Really?
I don't. What?
Well, and there's
there was so much rain.
That's true. And it's the way it operates is that you're fishing one day and then you're fishing, then you go and you go. And what happens, this one, because this year in 2020 or 2020, they let everybody fish heavy hitters. Mm-hmm. So it was like another tour event. And so what you have is you get done, you don't have a weigh-in, so you don't have to go to a weigh-in. You're at the ramp, mm-hmm. You load your boat, and you drive back to your motel or your house or wherever you're staying, and that's it. So if you want to get autographs or you want to interact with the anglers, you pretty much have to go to the ramp and kind of hang out and do it. And they're more than willing to do that, but it's a different kind of thing not having a weigh-in.
Yeah, it really is. For me, media, I had dinner with Skeet during the heavy hitters. Skeet and John Murray. I went fishing with John Murray on Chick, and just arguably the worst day in hell. 41 degrees.
Really?
Pouring rain.
Wow.
And honestly, just had the best time fishing with him. And he taught Thomas how to throw a bait caster within 5 minutes. And I'm using a spinning rod, and Thomas is using a bait caster and telling me how bad of a caster I am. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And John's just a spectacular man, but it was a great time. And I kind of told Skeet, I was like, yeah, for media, it's hard to get a hold of y'all. I mean, with you, I just text you and you wait for me, which I appreciate. Yeah. Let me just say that. Other guys get in that boat and they're off before you can blink. But I think they're going to make some changes this year for media. I think that was what the media stuff we had like 2 months ago where they talked to us about. So I'm looking forward to the new season. Okay, I want to talk about this. First, let me ask you this, because I'm just. You and I get together and I can talk about everything. That's the first that's a problem. So we got to keep it kind of professional for us for this first time. How did you get introduced into the outdoors? Did your dad take you fishing when you were younger?
Yeah. It was my dad, and my mom loved it too. But we'd hunt and fish. He loved his saltwater, so he would be red fishing and stuff like that. And I remember they would take us as young kids, I mean, really young, and bundle us up. He was in the Navy. He had these big old Navy jackets, and they'd bundle us up where our whole body would fit in it and wrap us up. And they'd be really, really, toasty warm, and they'd throw us in a boat. My dad had a little 5-horse outboard that he owned. So we would drag that and rent a boat, usually a wood boat at one of the ramps, whether it was at one place that he always liked going. I'll remember it here. I'm just kind of old, so I'm having a moment there. But it's over there by Cedar Key, and so he would rent a boat over there. He would rent some. Sometimes it'd be at Orange or Loch Loosa and in freshwater. But we would just go fishing. He loved, so every single year when we got out of school, we would go camping to the mountains of North Carolina, and we trout fish. Oh, he loved his trout fishing, and he loved his fly fishing for trout. And I'm like going, what in the world? Why would you fly fish when you can take a spinning rod, throw out there and whack one, So, and then later in life, Doug Hannon introduced me to a fly rod. And was addicted to fly fishing ever since. So, but it's interesting that, so he took me fishing. That was really the introduction to outdoors, and hunting and fishing was all my dad.
When you started, did you start fishing professionally as an angler first, and then the TV show came about? How did that whole swing happen for you?
So I started fishing, local stuff like club stuff, and and some little tournaments around, and we had a great time. In fact, the story, and I wrote it, in that book that I wrote, but it was pretty funny. The one that really got me hooked on tournament fishing was a friend of mine from Boy Scouts had moved over to our school in 8th grade to PK Young here in Gainesville, and so I was the only kid he knew because we were in Boy Scouts together, and so he and I kind of hooked up, and he was big into bass fishing.
Mm-hmm.
I was into just fishing and outdoors, and at the time I was actually racing motorcycles. Well, so we'd go fishing, once, twice a month. Well, he calls me up and he says, "Hey, man, I got a little buddy tournament that I want to fish, and you want to fish with me?" And it's a Jack Westbury tournament out of Tampa. Jack Westbury was a marine dealer back then. And my buddy, Jerry Beavis, he had an 85 horse on a Astroglass, kind of a boxy boat. The first boat was regular steering in it, because before that we had stick steering bass boats that we would fish out of. And anyway, needless to say, I didn't have a race that weekend, motorcycle race. So I said, absolutely, I'd love to do it. And so I piled my stuff in his boat. And back then they lined us up. So it was coming out of Camp Lester right there, and they lined up all the boats. Everybody was going to Toho. They lined up all the boats at the mouth of Hatchnahaw, and he would run across it and shoot a flare. Well, I had two, boats were just lined up, and we only had an 85, but back then it was a big motor. But the biggest motor, I think, was a 135 Silver Starfire, whatever it was. It was an OMC, Evinrude Johnson, whatever, that was 135. Mercury had a 125, and we were running an 85. And so we didn't get on that front line because they were pretty much stacked side by side by side going, taking off. So we just sat behind a couple boats and weren't, really going, this is cool, we'll watch them go. And, well, as soon as Jack ran across the front, he shot the flare, everybody takes off. Well, we showered down on it. And the two boats that were in front of us with the bigger motors had blown this big hole in the water. Our boat goes up in the air, crashes into that big hole of water. My tackle box was floating level with my eyes. Okay, it was up here. Then it hit the floor and broke open, and I got tackle everywhere. So I'm trying to scrape the tackle up. I'm trying to hold on to rods. We didn't know about rod straps or anything back then. I'm trying to hold on to rods, and I'm still trying to point Jerry to don't follow all the boats. All these boats would run way wide and turn. And I'm telling him, go straight to the point, So he's running to the point, then he cut. Well, when we hit the canal that goes from Hatchnahaw to Cypress, we were 6 inches off the bank with this little 85 wide open, and we cut off about 30 boats. We go bouncing down the canal, all the way up. When we got to the lock going into Toho, we got in the lock, and I am shaking, just shaking. I tied on a Texas rig 3 times and forgot the bullet weight 3 times. I said, this is the sport for me. I can race like I love doing on a motorcycle, and I can fish in the same deal. So, man, this is absolutely the sport I'm going into.
That is the best story of all time, dude. Now, you fish? How many years did you fish professionally before the television show started?
Ooh, let's see. I started in '84 professionally, and I fished till '96 when I filmed that show. Aired '97, first year that it aired in '97. Then it aired for like 22 or 23 seasons.
Yeah. Well, you had Louie on, who we met together years ago down there in Okeechobee. Lunker Louie, great little angler.
I love him.
Oh God, yeah.
He's just great. Yeah,
one of the good young men. I mean, it's always nice to see.
Very.
Now, have you ever seen? And this is just from me. Have you ever seen such a division in bass fishing in ages? It seems like either you're one way or the other, and everyone just seems to want to fight or call people names, or even so much for me, I've had pure hate from other podcasters and other people. Have you ever seen such a division in the sport ever?
No, I haven't, and it's disappointing. I can tell you it's the same thing in America, though. And it's an intentional thing, and so I look at it that we the people, we as a group are extremely strong, extremely strong. And so if you want to be corrupt or you want to do things to abuse things, then you split people apart, which
Mm.
is what they're doing. And the people that swallow that and believe that, hey, this guy's bad or that guy's bad, because of whatever, they're just swallowing a hook like a bass swallowing a plastic worm.
Yeah.
It's not true. Most of the things you can prove by facts that those things are not true. We are not divided. We are one people, and they don't want you to be one people because you're weak at that point.
Yeah.
You can't stand strong. So that's why the United States is we the people, because, and they really, most of the things in the Constitution is not about government doing stuff. It's about us being able to govern ourselves and control the government so it doesn't get out of hand. Well, we're not doing a good job right now. Well, it's the same thing in bass fishing. And you've had some people that would stir things up, and not necessarily on a good thing. They literally would stir things up. When you look at it, man, there is no reason to be mad or disappointed at anything. We built
Hopefully this comes
a
back.
tourist enjoy it. And we had of television viewing of fishing, we had 86% of the market. Major League did. 86% of all fishing television that's viewed was Major League. And people love it. Our ratings are probably 3 times of anybody else's ratings. So, the point being is that don't worry about the negatives and stuff like that. Some people say, now there are people that love 5 fish limits, and that's great. We now have FLW 5 fish limits, and meaning Major League bought them, and now you have the high school tournaments, the college tournaments, the I guess it's the Toyota series, the Top
Yeah.
series. You got another, the BFLs, which is your weekend series. So you have all those, and they're all 5 fish limits, and they're all normal tournaments that you can go and enjoy, and then work your way up into the Major League, which is the top of the top, which is crazy good and fun.
How disappointing was it that Major League Fishing had to cancel the expo next year? Because I mean, they couldn't do it the first year. It was like the biggest. They were trying to. One thing I will say, I love that Major League Fishing didn't go out and try to sell things and collect the money. They said, "Look, we want to get your spot, but we're not taking any money until we know officially that we're going to have this thing." But how
Yeah.
disappointing was it to not to have the expo this year?
It terribly, terribly disappointing. And you know, um, when you look at COVID, which has caused so much disruption in our nation, and again, I don't want to get political or anything like that, but I mean, just like hydroxychloroquine, President Trump said it was one of the best drugs, and then they started telling everybody that it could kill you. And it's one of the most widely prescribed drugs in the world. Everybody in the military, everybody gets it. They travel, they get it. It's about the safest drug out there. And then people would believe this horse manure just because of politics. And when you start putting politics above people, that's really sad. That's
Hmm.
really sad. And I just feel that we have to take it seriously. We have people dying of it. At the same time, you really should eliminate politics from anything that has to do with you know medicine, personal safety, that type of stuff, because these people are corrupt. I'm telling you, they're corrupt. And I'm not taking sides. I'm going to say there's as many corrupt Republicans as there are Democrats,
Hmm.
as there are independents.
Yeah.
When you get into politics, you're corrupt. You're abusing the system. You realize real quick that, hey, I get appropriations for this project, and I'm going to get 10% on the backside, or I'm going to get 20%, or I get a piece of the action. I'm getting rich really, really quick.
Really quick.
They're all corrupt. and
Yeah.
and so I'm sitting there going, that's why I'm so fervent about we the people, is that you don't worry about what the media and what the politicians are saying, you need to be strong with your brother, like you and I,
Yeah.
and everybody else. And it's the same thing in fishing. We need to be fishermen first, and don't worry about the organizations.
Fishermen first. That's what we need to remember, because we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I was disappointed that the expo wasn't going to happen this year, because I mean, they had a whole. You obviously know they had a whole media thing for us, and it was one of those things that I guess I'm not allowed to talk about, but I can talk about. You know what I mean? But what Major League Fishing did was it was a positive start to our next season. So
Right.
I'm disappointed, but I applaud Major League Fishing for saying right now that we're not going to have it, because if you remember last year, we were all 2 months before ICAST, we were all making our way to ICAST pretty much,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
they canceled it. Now next, whole bunch of people. Jeff Hammer, Tim LaForest, Jason Beck, they all say hello, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
You went fishing with JT Kinney.
Oh my gosh.
Can
yes.
can we just talk about this really fast? Can we talk about this? Tell me. I mean, you and JT are obviously good friends. And if you don't know,
Let me ask you a question. Are you on a time limit?
No. I mean, we have till like 4:50. Thomas has swimming at 4:50. But
Okay.
we saw you. You and I hung out at the thing for Blair Wiggins, and JT was at that. Do you remember that? The IRL clam
Yes.
restoration. We kind of made our way to someplace else like normal. But JT was there, and
That's right.
but he was causing me problems, because I was like, hey, I need to talk to this dude. Tell me the story about going fishing with JT on Okeechobee.
So it wasn't on Okeechobee. It was on Headwaters.
Okay.
But so JT, he does a show, JT Kinney Fishing Show, and it's on My Outdoor TV, MOTV. So you can log on and just check him out, watch him anytime you want. And he calls me up because back in about 15 or 16, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe even 2017, but I think it was 15 or 16, I did a promotion or a promo tape for FWC on the Headwaters, because they were down there digging and dredging and sculpting the most beautiful bass fishing lake I've ever seen. I mean, it was stunning, the amount of work that they were putting in. The guy on the excavator, digging stuff and all, was just having a blast. I mean, he carved FSU in and made that. He carved he put the Gator head, the Gator logo of University of Florida Gators, in a section of the lake. So, and you can actually find it. I think he put UCF in. So he did some really cool stuff. Being a college football fan, I like that. And but he put ledges and drop offs and channels and swings and humps and islands, and just it's unbelievable. Well, then I thought it was going to come out within the next few years. Well, it never opened. It never opened. It never opened. Then I heard, hey, it's getting ready to open. So I was thinking about going down there. I had to film a show with Strike King, and we were planning on doing it summertime, in June, but I think the COVID deal was still bad, so we canceled that deal. And I was going to look into going in June, knowing that they were getting ready to open up. Well, they opened it up, I think it was August 1st, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He calls me up. He says, listen, I'm going to do a show down there. And he lives only 15 minutes from Headwaters. And he said, since you did the original tape on this, that got me excited, and I can't tell you how many hours he spent looking at Google Maps and looking back at how they sculpted it and where islands and different stuff there are. Anyway, and he said, I'd love for you to do the show. And I said, shoot, I'm free. Good. I'd love to do it. So I got to step in the boat with JT, and I mean, he's not only an awesome fisherman, he's a fun guy, and
Yes.
He's a great guy to be around all the time. So anyway, we go and we fish top water, and we go play around and all. And he finally goes, "Hey, let's go punching," and which I'm an old guy. There is no punching; it's flipping.
It's flipping.
That's what it is.
That's what I say too. Flipping.
Yeah. So anyway, I had an 1.25 ounce tungsten. I had I think it was a 6/0 Trocar, tied on TK 130, and I grabbed a menace because it's one of my favorite punching baits. I think I had 50. I was thinking it was 65, but I'm pretty sure it's 50-pound flipping braid on my reels and the loose reels and my loose flip stick, and I just show up with the stuff and we start punching and we start whacking them. We'd caught some on topwater, we caught some on crankbaits, caught some on worms. Well, then when we went punching, it was like I'd pitch over into a mat of hydrilla, and it would hit the mat, sink about a foot, and it would just go boom. It just rock your world. You're like, oh my gosh, just set the hook and you go at it. And so I was having just a blast, and I pitched into one mat. He's fishing another one because they're just everywhere. And I pitched into one. I go to lift, and I felt a little tension. Well, then it just kind of eased me down, nice and slow. And I went, set the hook, thinking, okay, I got one. And I felt there was some good weight behind it. Well, we blew it up out of the hydrilla, so it's pretty much covered with hydrilla. And JT looks at it and says, man, dude, that's about a 6-pounder. And I go, yeah, it looks about like a 6. Well, then we fought it up to the boat, and as he's looking at it, getting ready to lip it, he's going, man, that could be an 8-pounder. So he picks it up. Well, he gets it up. Now he's in the boat, and he's like, dude, that's way bigger than 8. That's got to be a 10-pounder. So that's a 10-pounder. So he puts it in the live well because he's going to get the MLF scale, official scale. We closed line. I hadn't even had time to really do anything but just look a second. We put him in live well. So he gets the scale out. The camera guy gets ready. I open the live well. I freaked. I just went, oh my gosh. I pick him up, and it's just this giant bass. So it went from 6 to 8 to 10, and then it's 12 in the live well. And when we hang him, he's 12 and a half. So he the picture we took was at 12.45 pounds, which is 12.7. But the actual weight of the fish was 12.8. We both had him at 12.5, and I guess when the camera clicked, my still camera for trophy catch, my cell phone, it clicked on 12.45, and when he looked on his video, because he set his video camera down, he had 12.45, so I got 12.45. But anyway, it was a 12.5. It was awesome fish.
One of the best pictures I've ever seen of you is you're like in this. Yeah. Like you have this boyish, just unbelievable smile, and you're like,
yeah.
And obviously you weren't. You were like in front of the fish, but you weren't because you're like looking back, and you're like, you got to be joking me.
Yeah, that was just huge, man.
It was just awesome to see. I saw it, and I yelled at the boy Thomas and said, "You got to see this. You got to see the great." Now, was that the biggest bass you've ever caught? Was that your personal best?
No, I caught a 13.6 in a PAA tournament at Toho, and I caught a 13.5 at a little place in just south of me here. And so, I've had 2 over 13, and I think I might have had a couple in that upper 12s, but I don't know. That it could be the third, but it's guaranteed it's the top 5 of the biggest fish I've caught.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. Actually, coming down to Harris, I don't know if you know Terry real well. Terry last year at the end of May, June had 37 for 5 fish, or maybe it might have been 39, all on frogs.
It was 38, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to see you guys.
Talking about Scroggins?
Yeah. Terry.
He caught it, in the Glenn Brown tournament. It was a Glenn Brown Memorial tournament.
Yes.
And, Glenn passed away from cancer. We did a memorial tournament, and he caught like 38, 5 that went 38 on his bladed jig that he makes. Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was all topwater stuff. I thought I read, but that doesn't surprise me. Why?
What's really he actually lost 2 giants that day that he never could turn. So who knows what he would have had that day.
Yeah. So. You guys coming down during that same time next year is going to make that Harris Chain tournament's going to be wonderful to see, to be honest. I can't wait for that one.
Yeah. It's been really hot. It's been very good fishing there.
Craig Webb asked, what's the most weight Shaw has caught in a single day to win a tournament and from behind?
Gosh, I don't know. So I don't I'm trying to remember a good come behind, and I'm an old guy, so I forget more stuff than I remember. But I mean, the most weight I've caught in a BASS was 35 something, and I
Ugh.
did not win it. They're a 4-day tournament at the time, and that was the one that Rojas won. I caught
Ugh.
32 day one, and then I caught 35, and then it tapered out or whatever. But I still ended up in the top five or whatever. I did catch 30, almost 32, maybe the year before in a BASS tournament, and second place I think was Russ Bringer, had like 17 or maybe 19, and I had like 32, and I just kind of kept catching enough to hang on and win that tournament because I'd caught such a giant sack to begin with. Coming from behind, I know I finished second on one where I made the top 10 cut, and I caught a good enough bag to jump up there, but I didn't win. I think I tied for second with Terry Seagraves,
Yeah.
probably something like that. But I had the fish to win it. But we didn't. You don't know that when you're, and that's the thing that I really, really. I mean, there's a lot of things I really, really like about Major League Fishing. One of them is we don't have to put a fish in the live well.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to stress a fish, whatever. You're just catching them, let them go. That's the best thing in the world. I don't have to worry about keeping alive. Now, I always had the best stuff, catch and release in the boat. Catch and release, if you're a tournament angler, is absolutely the best stuff to put on a fish. If you're keeping them in a live well, you can put a little, you can put a little in their throat too if you hook one deep or whatever.
Yeah.
But catch and release made by a guy that actually went to University of Florida, and it's made Jungle Labs. It's over there in Texas, but it's still the best stuff to keep in your boat. Anyway, so I didn't have an issue with live fish, but I don't have to worry about it anymore. So I let them go. I don't have to beat myself up running, first thing in the morning racing somebody. I can just kind of ease out, and when they say lines in, I make a cast. I don't have to beat myself up running back. There'd be a lot of people that wouldn't have had back surgeries and surgeries of their body if they had done that type of format in the beginning. So those are two things that I really like. And I know we were talking about there was another thing, but anyway, I can't even remember that. So there you go. Whatever we were talking about
When you have that
was the
score,
third thing.
when you have that score
No,
track,
the score tracker. That's why I didn't win, because we didn't have score tracker. And I didn't know that I only needed a 3-pounder to win, or 2.5-pounder, and I passed over a number of them because I thought I needed an 8 or a 9 because I got in at the last position, and I didn't need but like a 3-pounder, and it killed me when I came in, finished second. I go, really? I
yeah.
passed up all those just going anyway.
How does the score tracker now in Major League Fishing affect when it starts to get a little bit close, and how bad is it to have the guy? No offense to the guys in the back, the marshals, or the officials, but when they start telling you, oh, you're a pound and a third off, how does that start affecting the way that you fish that last 20, 30 minutes?
It does. You really, I mean, you pick up the pace, and sometimes it can spin you out. I mean, I've seen guys spin out. I have myself, but most of the time I'd be flipping, and I know that's it was just solid matted hydrilla, and I said I can catch him, and I kept seeing the score tracker, and I'm like, dude, I got to do something. There's got to be something that I have to be able to do to catch a fish right now, because otherwise I'm going to be back to pack. So I made an adjustment. So score tracker, I'm sitting there going, okay. The adjustment was to grab one of those Alabama rigs and start slinging it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's really amazing is I almost was at a point, and I said, well, I'll start throwing this Alabama rig out in front of this point, and hopefully there'll be a pile of fish right there, and I'll catch them. Well, believe it or not, there was a pile of fish right there. I didn't catch them, but the guy the next day won the whole thing right there, and flipping in the mat if I'd kept going. So sometimes you let it change what you're doing because you're saying I'm getting too far back,
Hmm.
and you give up on something that really is the right thing to do, but you give up on it. So I tried something and it didn't work. So sometimes that happens. Other times it helps you. You change. You say, man, I can't just sit here because I'm not going to catch up this way, and you do something different, and it helps you out. So
Yeah.
I personally love it. I think more information is always better than less.
Yeah, I agree with you. Playing with the lights now. Now I changed the thing.
I'm like, yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, this light, the window's here to start off with, and then this light. I don't want this light here is the problem. But then everyone says, "Oh, I can't see you," and oh, Jesus, Murphy. Um, you've had Major League Fishing has had some guys move back to the elites. I mean,
Yes.
I mean, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, I know they're your friends and you want to see them do well, but does it kind of hurt or sting to see them go back?
Not, not really. Everybody has to find their place,
Mm-hmm.
and if you are, truly feel like, hey, I'm a better five fish limit guy, then more power to you. And some of them I understand, they're going, well, I really want to win the classic. Classic's a big deal.
I agree.
And I think that the way I'm looking at it is that this is angler driven. This is about the anglers.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thought is that we're going to do everything we can to put it in the angler's hands for the future. That's just the future of the sport. That's it. I mean, it's like anything else. If it's promoter driven, the promoters are going to make the money and such. And you really want it to be more angler driven, like a PGA Tour or something like that. And so that they have an equal seat, or at least get to be able to make decisions that affect them. So rather than it being just money, so anyway, bottom line is I'm looking at long term, and I feel solid that the Bass Pro Tour will have, Major League Fishing will have the biggest event there is. So but you have something that has the name like a Wimbledon or a Daytona or something like that. So to get that, how are you going to get that name? You're not going to do it overnight.
No.
It has to be built. And
Yeah.
so we're going to do a first one, and then we're going to do a second one, and then you do a third one, and 3 or 4 years down the road, when people are going, oh my goodness, this is crazy good, then you're gonna chip away at it. So.
Yeah. I had heard a rumor that they were going to make an exemption, a legendary exemption for the classic. If they ever did that, and they said, "Look, Shaw, here you have this opportunity to just fish the classic outside of it," would you ever be interested in doing something like that?
On the top of my head, of course, the first thing you go is absolutely, I'd love to. But, when I think about it, um, I, I feel that classic is for those guys that work their butt off all year to get there. That's their shot and I had my shots there, 16 of them. And the best I ever did was second. I finished second. I think I may have finished third. I may have finished, some other top finishes, but I never won it. So, but that doesn't define who I am.
Yeah.
It's, you got Roland Martin, probably one of the greatest bass anglers to ever come along. I mean, I think right off the top, I can probably count 4 guys that are just like incredible. You got Roland Martin, you got, of course, Larry Nixon too, but
Mm-hmm.
Roland, you got Rick Clunn, you got Kevin Van Dam. Now you got Jacob Wheeler, incredible. But you've got some hammers that have come along, and of that, only if like Kevin's won 4 and Ricky's won 4, but Roland never won a classic. So the bottom line is, would I go? That would be a tough one to say yeah or no. I mean, I would say I really think strongly. I'm a fisherman, and I've been there, and I would really not want to take away or be at something that I didn't feel I qualified for. I like fishing against the toughest out there, the toughest competition, the toughest anglers. And if I get my butt kicked, I get my butt kicked, but I'm taking it and going on. But you learn more from strong competition than you ever do from weak competition. So wins is not necessarily the deal. So those guys worked hard at it, and
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's they ought to deserve to be there.
That's why you're a class act. You know that? I tell you this all the time. Every time I see you, you're the best. Really, I don't know anyone that would say that, and that's a truthful answer and one that really shows the respect you have for everybody that's out there and fishing professionally. Okay, last questions. It really does show how humble and how great you are, Shaw. Honestly, you know that. I love you as is. So it doesn't. You could say whatever.
I don't know how much I got to pay you for all those comments. But anyway, we'll talk about it after the show.
You know, I was thinking about this, and Thomas is in the other room, so I can say this without. I've never heard you swear in all the years I've known you. Do you know that?
Oh, I have.
No, not in front of me. You have not. I was thinking about.
I try not to.
Yeah, I was thinking about it because the last time we saw each other, we were talking about something that we cannot remotely talk about here, but I was telling you how my feelings on it and just how I just thought it was shitty that what was happening and what was said. So here's my last question for you because I got to go. Thomas has got swimming. How good are these young anglers that are coming up like Wheeler and Lee and Justin
Jordan
Lucas? And even like Brandon Palaniuk how good are these young kids? I don't want to call them kids. These young men nowadays. Have you ever seen such a group of anglers come in with such doing so great so fast?
Yeah, no, I think it's so in our days to learn, you had to experience it. So you had time and time and time and tournament after tournament on the water. Nowadays, you have the internet, you have YouTube, you have all these videos, and you now have high school tournaments. Junior angler, then high school, then college, and by the time you get out of college, you've had more experience than I did after 5 years being a pro. Mm-hmm. So these guys are great, and to me, it makes me smile because this is where our sport has gone, and this is where we've always wanted it to go. We want it to be, I can't tell you how many times I got asked all through the 80s and 90s and even in the beginning of the 2000s, said, you ever got a real job, and it's like nobody respected professional angling as professional angling. Well, they do now. Mm-hmm. And this is what we've always wanted. And this is what has happened, taking the sport to the next level and keep working for it. And I'm just happy to be a part of it and proud to be a part of that. And I am really proud of these young guys. They are stunning how good they are. They really are crazy good and fearless, which is, I've said that a lot in different interviews and stuff. And that fearless, they don't mind changing or trying something different and just, going at it at a second's notice, where a lot of us are just, really reluctant. I caught him this way, I caught him this way yesterday and I don't want to change. I caught him this way this morning and I want to keep going. And they're like, no, we got to try something. I didn't get a bite in the last, 20 minutes and they're gone. It's just, that's a cool thing to see.
Yeah. The Jacob Wheeler just amazes me, to be honest.
Stunning.
And Jacob on doing an interview is like I interviewed him I went on the radio. I got to have like 10 or 15 minutes with him. And after the 10 or 15 minutes, we went into a break and I was like, what just happened? How much knowledge did he just throw down on me that I've never even thought of in my life? And,
yeah.
Jacob's another one. Jacob's like you. If I text you guys, you and Jacob, you guys get back to me, and I really do appreciate that. So thank you for that. Okay, before I leave, everyone go to Shaw's fan page on Facebook, follow him on Instagram, follow him on Twitter. Go do that. Follow him on. Make sure you tell all of his sponsors you saw him, and like and do all that social media baloney, the likes, the clicks, all that stuff that I hate saying every time we do one of these. But personally, from a friend, I appreciate you. I love you. I wish you the best of luck in everything. I love your wife. I love your grandson. And one of these days we'll get on the boat and fish and not do a commercial like seems like every time we're on the boat, it's a commercial. I don't know how that works out.
I would love it.
But we need, and Bryce needs to be there too, by the way.
There
because
you go.
I think about him all the time. I think about, this will be brutally honest. I need to get him on Lake X again, and I need to have a competition with him, just he and I, because he has deflated my ego because of that beatdown he put on me that day. But I appreciate you. I hope you're healthy, happy. I hope the whole family's doing well. And I appreciate the time. And we have to do this more often if possible and just say hello.
I'd love to.
So
anytime, buddy. Anytime.
I know that. I know that. I appreciate it. Thank you again. I'm going to click goodbye, and then I'm just going to say goodbye personally. So everyone, go check him out. He's a legend. He's an icon. He's one of the best guys in the world. And he fishes pretty well, too.
Used to.
It's all right. Guys, thanks. Thanks. Shaw, hold on a second. Guys, remember to take kid fishing, get your fish on, and we'll see you soon.